here began to forget. For all of us here safe at home, life in time returned to normal, as it always does. In time, we here at home began to forget. But not all of America and not all Americans would be able to forget. Not all would be given that luxury. In the days that follow, the plan for our young men and women to travel overseas in service to country took form. They traveled to Afghanistan by air and sea to begin a pushback. A movement of our young men and women that would see a war that had begun on our soil in New York City move to foreign soil. Years later, our young men and women remain on that foreign soil. In time, we here began to forget the sting of war. For our sons and daughters living in the trenches of faraway places, the luxury of forgetting remains impossible. For halfway around the globe, our children remain in harm's way, fighting for us, enduring aid without character and dignity. Our rights are exercised when exercised without responsibility, and our freedoms exercised without honor and compassion, leave us smaller than what we were created to be by God and lesser than what our forefathers had envisioned. We have again been confronted with the reality of freedom of speech, as we've had people from outside of our community proclaiming ugly proclamations. We are reminded that we do have people fighting for these freedoms. The freedom of speech created a sting in our community. Let us not give those who disagree with us permission to inflame us. Let us not give those who disagree with us an opportunity to fill us with hate and anger that will forever define us here in this place. Our freedoms are a God-given gift, and when practiced with sovereign grace and with eternity set before our eyes, we are found to be truly free. And in doing so, we are found to be one nation truly under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who spoke of the impact faith has on freedom when he proclaimed, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. We gather here today, again surrounded by hundreds. A week ago Sunday, hundreds gathered in the Drury High School parking lot to light candles, to begin to share a common loss and to begin to wrap this family in our sense of community with love and encouragement. Hundreds gathered on the tarmac of Westover Air Force Base. They gathered to bring honor to a fallen brother and to bring honor to his family. For this past Wednesday, the call went out across the Mohawk Trail and beyond. As Michael made his final trip home, highway overpasses and roadsides were filled with thousands more. The elderly, families, and individuals stood in driveways and in storefronts. Cars were pulled to the side of the Mohawk Trail in anticipation. Flags were waved and tears were shed, for your pain, DeMarsico family, is our pain. We came out to receive and to welcome home a hero. Today, the streets were again lined with our community to observe Michael's final ride through our streets of home. In recent days, many have gathered to celebrate a hero. We have been warned by the reality that in recent days we are not strangers. Because of Michael, we have all become friends. We all united behind a hero. And now in this quieter setting this afternoon, we gathered to remember and to celebrate our boy, Michael. In time, the history books will share a final number. A number speaking of the cost of this war and of lives lost. In the history books, Michael will be one of history's numbers, but to us here today, he will always be more than a number in history. In the history books, Michael will be a face in a sea of faces that served with distinction and gave everything for God and country. Here in North Adams, Michael DeMarsico will always be far more than a number or a nameless face in the pages of history. He was our boy. He was our student. He was our athlete. He was our scout, our friend, and he was our son. Here in North Adams, his story will be told. Here in North Adams, his story will be remembered and passed on. The account of his life will be of a North Adams boy. His story will be the telling of a young hero who voluntarily signed up to serve his country, no time will begin to understand this new reality of life without Michael. In time, we will grasp Michael's legacy and live it out in our own lives. In time, our healing will find us moving forward, but we will never forget. We will never forget this day. We will never forget standing on the side of our roads watching a somber procession. We will never forget sharing in this moment of being a part of this gathering that surrounded a family dealing with prolific loss. And we will never forget the day when the war in Afghanistan came home. We will never forget a young hero, his courage and honor, his commitment to duty, his steadfast spirit, his unwavering As we leave here now, may the sweet, sweet sound of God's amazing grace guard our hearts and minds. May the sweet, sweet sound of God's amazing grace not only save us,